staggered by our audience today, who mainly seem to be schoolboys. Our audience today, yes. And demmed polite ones as well. When Terry walked in, they all stood up and went, "Good morning, Mr. Wogan." But listen to this, Crackerjack. Who'd have thought we'd all live so long, eh? No response to your Crackerjack. Yes, good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, the 4th of December. Now, December, here, listen, class. December's called December because dec means 10 in Rome, so it's the 10th month. Go figure that out. It's because July and August pushed their way in. Here's something great. The Romans, for a couple of years, called this month Amazonius. After Commodius, their great leader, Commodius, they called this month Amazonius. But when he fell out of favour, they changed it back to December. I think the 4th of Amazonius is far, far more exciting. As we're on a Roman theme, I was watching I, Claudius last night. Do you know who's supposed to be the lead in I, Claudius? Not Derek Jacobi, Ronnie Barker. Fact, Jack, they approached Ronnie Barker. The kids out there are saying, well, we don't get any of this, Grandad. Come on, this archaic science nonsense we don't get. Archaic, why? A teacher stood in front of the class and says, you don't even know what archaic means. Put archaic in a sentence for me. One of these stood up and said, Miss, we can't have archaic and eat it. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. I'm here all week. Try to deliver. Thank you. Now, listen, no, that's enough. That's plenty. Listen, when I say Crackerjack, you all say Crackerjack, right? We're going back to the grand old age of television. Crackerjack. Crackerjack.
It works.
In the palm of my hand this morning. Good morning, everyone. I asked, you've been sending us questions by the end of quiet. I'll be sending papers around later on. You better answer them right. Yes, well, I love this kind of audience. Three questions I'll be back to answer later on this morning. James in Colchester says, Dan, the toothbrush, that hasn't changed much. Am I right? Well, you wait till you hear James. Can you imagine such a question? Dawn in Warwick said, here's one for you kids. Who did invent the very first computer game? Let's raise his name on high and dedicate a park to him. And Fiona in Burnley says, why are chilies so damn hot? Plus, how you can put hot dogs, meatballs and flowers on your Christmas tree and keep them fresh. All of that later on. But in the meantime, my young and tender friends.
Did any of you young people understand a word of that? I thought not.
Now, today's guest formed one of the most successful...
You know, not enough manliness. And here to redress the balance, exuding almost as much testosterone as he does knowledge. He's a man's man, makes no bones about it. Danny Baker.
Jack and I shared a stormy 10-week marriage back in the 80s, didn't we? So I forgive the quite so fawsome they were doing.
Well,
How they been? I've been sitting up the back with 5C over there, swapping glass jaw CDs. Oh, man, we're on top of this.
OK,
Very
son,
young audience.
I've got stuff for you.
Some of them, you got suits older than row C up there, haven't you, Terry? But carry on. What's the first one?
Toothbrushes haven't changed much. And that was mush, not mush. Yeah. Am I right? James in Colchester.
Well,
is that one that you've made up, or is there a real person
frankly,
called James in Colchester?
No, it's actually... These have germs in it. People write us very long emails, and somewhere along the way they say toothbrush, and I'll go, oh, yeah, I've got plenty of stuff about toothbrushes. Doesn't seem the most inviting of subjects, does it?
No.
No, it doesn't.
And Gareth would prefer if you pretended they were real.
Well, OK, I'll do that then. So, thank you for your question. What it is 3,000 years ago, people used twigs, and it literally came out of... you've seen people still doing that. Those survivalist programs always tell you things like that.
Yeah.
And so as they used those, the end would become frayed. And people would start... That's exactly what it is. They would become very frayed in the Egyptians, and give it some of that, and they're the genesis of the toothbrush. Although it took many, many centuries after that. But what did they use for toothpaste? They used pumice stone, and strong wine would have been the Egyptians' choice. Ooh. The Romans used urine. They would brush their teeth. This went right up to the middle of the 19th century. People did, and gargled with it. As we know, that suddenly got the kids' attention. As we know, you can gargle with it because it's totally antiseptic.
It's awfully good.
We had the chap on the show that did that.
The old chap on the show did that.
Yeah, he drank it.
Oh,
is he still alive?
Well, probably still drank it. I mean, it's always good TV, but believe me, up until the middle of the 1850s, people would gargle and brush their teeth with urine.
What did they floss with?
They would... please, you don't want to know. You simply do not want to know, but it was all organic. That's all you need to know about that. And people, as we discussed here a few weeks ago, would actually have their teeth taken out as a birthday present because there's so much pain.
Clearance.
Until about 50 years ago, clearance would be a birthday present to a young woman. For your 19th birthday, we're having all your teeth took out, and that was quite a present to get. And so, yes, the toothbrush itself was introduced about 1930s when nylon came along. Nylon, as we know, an amalgam of the New York, London, made nylon because it was developed in two places. Then the nylon toothbrush, Second World War, the GIs were given it, and then the boom, as we now know, in dental hygiene came about. But yes, from twigs to nylon, beyond that to the first advert shown on British television, Gibbs SR toothpaste. Let's see how many of the audience remember You Wonder Where the Yellow Went When?
Well, not that.
That's certainly that section. Anyone?
You brush your teeth with Pepsodent.
Pepsodent, and those of us who lived through the Cold War know it was corrupted into You wonder where your teeth have gone when you brush them with an atom bomb. Kids, that got big laughs back in 1964. How sad, 40 years later, we're still giving it a go. But that is the genesis of the toothbrush.
Keep trying.
It's a 20th century invention, about 1930 as we know it now. But before that, yeah, twigs, brushes, and urine.
Bing!
Bing, that should do that.
OK, Dawn over the hills of Ireland, no, Dawn from Warwick, would like to know who came up with computer games.
Well, here's the thing we've got to fight for here, because the person who came up with computer game, the very first computer game, as a lot of these things, was a small Yorkshireman. His name was Willie Higginbottom. But now they're trying to disparage the Higginbottom. They're trying to say, no, it actually wasn't. What Higginbottom did was... But if you look back, he worked... and I've written down the name because it's important, because you want to research it and get behind him. He worked at the Brookhaven National Laboratory because he had relocated to the States. But Higginbottom couldn't be anything else, could even a small Yorkshireman. So Willie Higginbottom used to work there in their visitors department. He was a good physicist himself, but he found it was a little dry walking around the physicist departments in the late 50s. And so what he did, he got one of his kind of computers, rude as they were, and said, look, they can be adapted for fun, and he made something called Pong. Pong,
like tennis-y sort of a deal.
Exactly that. He even put a little tennis court around it. And now people are saying, but that wasn't commercially marketed, blah, blah. However, one of the visitors that day plainly said, there's something in this. It was overtaken, as a usually word, by Japanese and American conglomerates, but Willie Higginbottom is the name we should all be celebrating, and not any other name you want. If you go on the internet looking at this, they'll give you 500 names. Yeah. But look back. Willie Higginbottom. And how much money did he earn out of it?
How much?
Not a tanner. Nobody ever went back and said, well, that was Higginbottom's idea, but the Godfather, and there's more stories about the other games I'll give another morning when we've got more time, about Donkey Kong and Space Invaders, and just quickly, Pac-Man, which was the second biggest selling. Pac-Man actually came from an inspiration, was a slice of pizza. A pizza with one slice out of it, and the inventor of that Japanese fella looked at it and thought, yeah, they're all too violent, these games. How about we have something with Pac-Man where it goes around eating up all the little ghosts, which is what it did. However, he called it, because he thought it looked like a hockey puck as well. The original name was Puck-Man. However, when it went to America, they looked at the drawings and said, I think you might have a bit of trouble with that, with the students sitting down playing Puck-Man. Make it safer, call it Pac-Man. So it is a corruption of a puck, of a piece of pizza. And that is the story of one.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know, nonsense. Stick in there. What can I tell you? Here's a great one. I love this.
Stuff now. Fiona.
This is
Fiona
my
from Burnley wants to know why chilies are so hot.
The chilies are so hot. Now, of course, some ain't. All peppers are hot, as we've discussed on here before, and all peppers are exactly the same. You may have missed that morning when we were discussing the difference between red peppers, orange peppers, green peppers. They're all the same pepper at a different stage of its life. However, the top three, the chili, the jalapeno, and the habanero, which is the hottest in the world. Do you like hot? Do you like hot?
No,
Anyone like
not too hot.
No, I'm no good. I can't do that. No, once I had a jalapeno, and for 48 hours I thought I was a member of Kool and the Gang. I'm no good. I'm no good at that sort of thing. However, those are the three hottest, and there is a scale called the Scoville unit by which heat is measured in these things. They stimulate the nerve ends in your mouth, and they literally make your body think you're having sunburn or something like that. Water's no good. All it does is sluice the heat around, and it doesn't dispel it.
Bread, isn't it?
They say, and they've only got a trace of this stuff in them. The stuff that is actually is capsaicin, which is only a trace in peppers. If you had raw capsaicin, if you ever see it, one drop in 100,000 drops of water is still enough to blister your tongue. But that is, actually blister your tongue, one drop in 100,000 drops of it. But that is what is in peppers. That is what makes them so hot. And the hottest pepper there's ever been was a red Savin habanero. A normal hot pepper, and a really hot one, is 100,000 units. This one was 557 units.
My word.
Maybe have a bing.
Bing on that, I think. That'll do that.
And now
we've got some. Now, I'll just go over this way. Thank you. Over this way. Check this out. Are you you're going to dig this. You should be able to dig this. What we're trying to do, we're bringing alternative Christmas trees. Yesterday, we showed you that if your a Christmas tree doesn't want this sort of thing on, you could have bowling balls. And if they fall in the fish tank, they will float. We had bowling balls on a Christmas tree yesterday. You missed that. So this sort of thing. Dull, we'll try our old friend Dry Ice.
Oh.
Our old friend Dry Ice
yes,
with a little
please.
methylated spirit. Because you can put anything in there. Let's just fizz that up. Now, it's cold enough. You can put your flour. You may have seen this before. You put a flower in there. Now, stick that in there, right, and put that. And it should turn into a Christmas decoration. You think, I'm nuts, right? OK, so here we go. Every day we do this sort of thing. If we had time, and wouldn't that have been something, we're going to do it with hot dogs. We're going to do it with a ham sandwich and some tangerines. But for the moment, yes, yes, yes. Look at that. It's just been in the methylated spirits and a little dry ice. You could hang that on your tree all Christmas because, look, that's what it turns it into. Is that cool or is that cool? Tomorrow with the hot dogs, but in the meantime, back to my friends.